I'm not a pastor, I'm a minister, but I will tell you that we can do better than that. Good afternoon. Thank you and thank you. My name is Dr. Brian Smith. I'm the Assistant Dean in the Arts and Science Division at Tri-County Technical College and one of the co-chairs of the Men of Color initiative here at Tri-County Technical College. On behalf of the college, I want to welcome you to our 5th annual Men of Color Luncheon, and our theme today is Make Opportunities Count. At Tri-County, our mission is to provide students an exceptional and affordable learning experience that improves their quality of life. One way we accomplish this is through our Men of Color initiative. The Men of Color initiative seeks to educate, motivate, inspire, and empower young men and women of color, and to let them know that they have a place at Tri-County Technical College. And that is what we hope to do here today: educate, motivate, inspire, and empower each and every one of you. I challenge each of you to make every opportunity count and to take what you learned today and use it to shape your academic and career goals. Today, you will hear from our guest speaker, Bakari, who will talk about his academic and career achievements, how he became an author, an activist, attorney, legislator, and entrepreneur, how he overcame adversity to become a confident leader, and his advice for young men and women of color. You will also hear from our college president and others who will talk about what Tri-County has to offer, because college is possible for every person in this room. But before we hear from our speakers, I want to remind the students in this room to scan the QR code on your table and to submit your contact information. At the end of the event today, we will draw 2 names, and those 2 individuals will receive a $50 Amazon gift card. Again, scan your QR code, and you can receive a $50 Amazon gift card. Now I would like to invite Dr. Jackie Blakely, Dean of the Business and Public Services Division and fellow Men of Color Committee member, to give our invocation.
Good afternoon, everyone. Let me bow our heads for prayer. Dear Lord, we want to thank you for allowing us to gather together to celebrate our men of color in Anderson, Oconee, and Pickens counties. We are grateful to those who have committed their time, talents, and treasure to help us plan such an event. We are also grateful for our Tri-County Technical College commissioners, administrators, faculty, and staff who have supported us so that we can plan such an event for our students. We pray that this event will motivate us and encourage us all to be better individuals. We also thank you for the food. May it nourish our bodies as well as our souls. In your name, I pray. Amen. Amen.
Thank you, Jackie. At this time, I would like to welcome Cedric McCallum with South State Bank to the podium to say a few words as our presenting sponsor.
Good afternoon. Why do I get nervous every time I see people in the audience? Gracious. Wow. I'm not going to keep you long today. I want to first start off by saying thank you to South State Bank for caring about the communities it serves and for giving me the opportunity to be here today. South State Bank, we're about a $50 billion bank. We're in 6 states. We have over 5,000 employees, yeah, over 240 branches. And we care about our community's insurance. And I also like to thank them for allowing me the opportunity to do what I love to do, right? Because that's rare, right? Today, as I think about, making opportunities count, I said, when I started trying to pull some comments together, I said, you know what? How do I connect with that theme? And the first thing that hit me was, tell your story. Okay? Everybody has a story though, right? Everybody has a story to tell, correct? Right? It's just a matter of whether your story is finished yet. We're all on this journey. And so it hit me like, you know what? Being under the influence is not a bad thing. It didn't hit you like it hit me. Let me say it again. Being under the influence is not always a bad thing. And what I mean by that is, it made me think about all of my experiences and the influences of other folk that were in my life. Leveraging those experiences and those influences have me right here, right? Not that my story is done. This is not about me. This story is not about me talking about that I am doing my dream job, or that I work for a bank, or I'm a senior vice president. It's not about that. But this story is about the gratefulness. It is about being thankful. It's about being thankful because of the influences in my life and making every opportunity count, right? So I'm giving you this, right? As the younger me, it's what the older me would tell the younger me. Pay attention to the influences. So here we go. Roll with me, right? So the first influence, my parents, right? The first one. Sometimes we take it for granted, mom and dad. But the first thing was having both of them. Having both of them, right? I took it for granted. Mom and dad, first thing, taught me how to pray. I was in church every Sunday. And we drift away from those teachings sometimes, right? Taught me how to pray. Loved me unconditionally. Never said a harsh word to me. But that was my life. I didn't think thought that was the norm, right? Making opportunities count. Being under the influence. At the time, I didn't think about the influence of my parents because they were a given. Next was my 6th and 8th grade teachers, Dr. Joyner and Dr. Rowson. Teachers have this effect on us in school. They're kind of like our protectors, right? And when we find one, we cling to them. And so I did that, and both of those gentlemen taught me that it's okay to be smart. It's okay to be better than your peers. You don't have to act like everybody else, right? Being under the influence ain't so bad. Then my college professor, English teacher. Paper used to be red all the time. Red. You know what red means. We know what red off the paper means, right? Red. But he taught me to be a good writer. Took it for granted. We cannot function in this society without being able to communicate. We agree with that, right? Communication. I owe him that. Being under the influence is not so bad. And then, my wife. A woman will make you change a lot of things about you. Yes, she will. My wife was hard. Oh, she was hard. She said, what are we doing here? You in school part-time, trying to get your degree, and you working part-time? But which one are you gonna focus on? I thought I was doing okay, because my mama loves me. She's like, well, that's the only one that does. Right? But she pushed me through college. She said, you need to finish. I finished. I graduated with a BA in English literature in 1997. I was on a 5-year plan though, until she got a hold of it. Being under the influence ain't so bad, because I'm a college graduate now. Without her, I don't know. I don't know. And then we had kids. Oh boy, it got rough. Right? You say, well, how do kids influence? How do you make those opportunities count? We got little brothers. Any of us got little brothers that look up to us? Right? Kids watch everything you do. They keep us honest. And my middle daughter, Danielle, asked me one day. She said, Daddy, why can't you run for president? I said, wait a minute, president? But what it did for me, it says that my kids think I can be better. They think I deserve to be better, right? So then I went on to get me in my MBA, right? Because my kids pushed me, right? Being under the influence is not so bad. So in closing, what I'll say to you, if I can find this last page, embrace diversity. Embrace experiences. Make all those opportunities count. Embrace people, right? Because one of the things you'll find is that the same person that you're sitting beside right now, 10 years from now, could be an opportunity for you. The next thing, care. Care. You hear people say, I don't care about stuff. I don't care about what people think. Caring is underrated. Care. Care about people. Care about relationships. Because that's the only way you can make opportunities count. Next thing, love. Love as much as you can. Love everybody. Love as much as you can possibly. Because that's the thing that God smiles on us for doing. Just love. Simple as that, right? And the final thing, as we think about making opportunities count, and being under the influence is not so bad, push yourself to be better than you are today. Push yourself. Surround yourself with people that are better than you. Play basketball, right? A lot of hoopers in here, I'm sure. Basketball. You know how you play with somebody who's not as good as you? Right? Right? Push yourself to be better. Being under influence ain't so bad. Thank you.
Wow, that's some powerful words. Thank you, Cedric. We appreciate South State Bank's support. Before I go forward, my colleague Rodney Estrada taught me how to say welcome in Spanish, and I did not do that. So let me do that now. Hopefully I will not butcher it. Bienvenido, is that correct? Yeah. Bienvenido, so welcome, welcome. So now we'd like to invite Tri-County Technical College President, Dr. Galen DeHay, to the podium to say a few words.
Thank you, Dr. Smith, and thank you again, South State Bank, for being here. We really appreciate your support and your investment in our communities. It means a great deal to us and everybody here today. I also want to thank our table sponsors, do a couple of recognitions. Anderson Beverage Outlet, Bon Secours, Minority Health Coalition, Urban League of the Upstate, Walmart, and Tri-County's Men of Color Committee. We appreciate everybody's attendance today and for your support of our Men of Color initiatives. I also want to acknowledge some special guests that are in the audience. Tri-County Technical College Commissioner, if you please stand, Ms. Helen Roseman Saunders, who's celebrating her 30th year on our board. City of Anderson Mayor Terrence Roberts. Terrence, if you stand, be recognized. Thank you. And Clemson Mayor Robert Halfacre. Robert, I know I see, there he is. Thanks so much for all of you being here today and supporting Tri-County and our Men of Color initiative. And last but not least, I also want to thank the school chaperones that brought all of our students here today, and all of the bus drivers that made it possible for you to get here today. We want to thank you and honor you for your service in making this day possible. Yes. So as Brian said, our mission is to provide our students with an exceptional and affordable learning experience that improves your quality of life and the quality of lives for our communities. And we strive to create an inclusive learning environment at Tri-County where everyone feels fostered to be successful and where young men and women of color feel safe, welcome, and valued. And I hope that you feel that today. I hope that each of you feel safe, that you feel welcome and you feel valued, and that you see college as a place that you can and that you do belong, and that Tri-County is that college. We're committed to you and your success. And I believe that this event here today is emblematic of that. So like Dr. Smith said, I encourage you to make this opportunity count, and that you take what you learned today and you use it to shape your academic and your career goals. Thank you for being here, and I'm going to get out the way and we can get this program rolling. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. DeHay. Now I would like to invite Travis Durham, Director of Student Engagement and Accountability, to give an overview of the college.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. All right, I have to do that because everybody just ate lunch, so I want to make sure everybody's awake. All right. So my name is Travis Durham. I'm the Director of Student Engagement and Accountability at Tri-County Technical College. And I'm going to spend a few minutes just kind of overviewing some information about Tri-County. And I had an opportunity to talk with students at the tables, and I was kind of going around and saying, hey, so, thank you for coming. First of all, thank you for coming. I want to echo what Dr. DeHay said. Thank you for coming. We know how much time and energy and planning and organization it takes for all of you to be here, so give yourselves a hand for making it here today. So what I was saying is I talked to a few students and I wanted to get some information about what they knew about Tri-County, and some students were like, well, I don't know a whole lot, but I'm looking forward to learning more information. So I heard, I'm looking forward to making opportunities count, right? So I'm gonna start off with a 30-second video, and I'm gonna spend about 8 to 10 minutes going over some information, and I want everybody to be able to, at the end of my presentation, be able to tell about 2 or 3 things that you didn't know about Tri-County prior to this presentation. Is that fair? Is that fair? Yes. Is that fair? Yes. Awesome. All right.
Think college isn't in your future? Don't go there. Come here instead. Tri-County offers resources and services to help you become the you've always wanted to be.
Design your future, from blocks of metal to, well, pretty much anything. From drawings to cool 3D images. I like that plan.
Want to learn networking and all things cybersecurity? We train for that too.
And through our media arts production program,
your creative future really can be a click away.
Leaning more towards healthcare? No worries. From medical assisting to medical laboratory technology, the sky's the limit.
Prefer 4-legged to 2-legged patients? Our veterinary technology program is absolutely the GOAT. No matter your career goals, we're confident you'll soon be saying, I belong here. Visit tctc.edu/I belong to get started.
All right, so we have 4 campuses, Tri-County. We have our Pendleton, our Anderson, our Easley, and Oconee campus. So no matter where you live in the Anderson, Oconee, Pickens area, we have a campus near you, okay? We have 80 plus programs of study. So there's a place, a program for you no matter what your interest level is. And just here are a few examples. So we look at our Arts and Sciences division, our Business and Public Service division, our Engineering and Industrial Technology division, or our Health Education division. There are a lot of opportunities for students here. And that's the point that we want to get across as it relates to making opportunities count. There are opportunities for you to get involved and get engaged in these programs of studies. So take a look at that. Give you a second to take a look at that, kind of get it in. Remember, I want you to get about 2 or 3 takeaways from this, okay? 86 is the number of courses that transfer to every public college in South Carolina. College or university in the state of South Carolina. Let's look at some of those. Why is that important? I was able to go to a community college in a transfer program, and it was one of the best decisions for me personally because I got to go to a community college where it was a smaller setting. I didn't have a lot of confidence because I was a first-generation college student. And I wasn't quite sure if college was for me, even though I kind of knew it was for me. But it got me an opportunity to be a part of a smaller community, build my confidence. It was less expensive. So taking advantage of the transfer program is a great opportunity for students. So for those of you that think, I just can't afford to go to college, you can. So 80% of students receive some type of financial assistance and scholarships. So we have scholarships, we have Pell Grants, and for students that may not be aware of that, that's money that you don't have to pay back. So everybody can go to college. Everybody can go to college. Making opportunities count. I think that's the message that we're getting across today. There's also work study. A lot of students, including our Tri-County students, may not be aware of work study opportunities. Work study is an opportunity for you to make money while you're in school, working around your classes. So for example, we have work study students that work with us in student engagement. And they'll go to class for a couple of hours, they'll come and work with us for a couple of hours while they're on campus. So it's an opportunity to learn and grow, and they grow from that experience as well. So there's a lot of opportunities for you to take advantage of. So we're removing the barriers for everybody attending college. 894 students have enrolled in the fully funded technical career pathway. And I'll explain what that is in a second. So, when we look at dual enrollment is an opportunity for students to earn college credit while they're in high school. By show of hands, how many middle school students do we have here today? Raise your hand if you're a middle school student. Raise it high. Okay. Thank you. How many high school students do we have here today? Excellent. All right, so I want y'all to pay attention to this, okay? Because as it relates to our, make sure I get this correct. As it relates to our dual enrollment students, opportunity is offered in high schools, it's offered on college campuses, and it's also offered online. So there's a lot of opportunities for you to take advantage of it. And some of the programs that you can take advantage of are also transferable. We also have a technical career pathway that allows students to earn a college certificate in one of the areas listed below here while they're in high school at no cost. So that is a great opportunity for you. And I want you to take that back, because if you're in high school and nobody's approached you or talked to you about that opportunity, I want you, now that you know, to take this information back and talk to your school counselor, talk to your parents, so you can take advantage of these opportunities. 25. student organizations. So at Tri-County, and really in high school and middle school, we don't want you to we want you to focus on your academics primarily, but we also want you to get involved. We want you to get engaged in extracurricular, co-curricular, outside of the classroom learning opportunities. Because the research shows that students that are involved in extracurricular, co-curricular, outside of the classroom opportunities tend to do better academically. And there's a whole lot of reasons for that, but the reason that I found most important is because they become comfortable as being vulnerable. They become comfortable asking questions. They become comfortable asking for help. And so that's why it's important to get engaged and get connected. So at Tri-County, we have a range of opportunities to get engaged, to get involved as a dual enrollment student or any student. And so I mentioned that we have about 25 plus organizations. We have our Student Government Association. We have our National Society of, our NSLS, National Society of Leadership. We have our Solace Club, which is for our LGBTQ plus students. We have Art Club. We have our Student Veterans of America Club. So there's a lot of opportunities to get involved. And if we don't have a club that fits your interests, we have an opportunity to start a club. So just because you don't see one doesn't mean that it can't start. We have an art club that just started yesterday. And we had about 15 or 20 students that were part of that. So there's a lot of opportunities to get involved. 500 students take advantage of our Accessibility Resource Center. So if you are a student in middle school, high school, or current Tri-County student, and maybe you had an IEP or 504 or needed some accommodations for a reason, you can take those accommodations to college with you. And a lot of people don't understand that. So whether it's short-term or long-term, you can get accommodations while you're in college to help you be successful. And you can get that through our Accessibility Resource Center. 4,000 is the number of tutoring appointments per year. So tutoring and everything that I just shared is at no additional cost. No additional cost. So our students get a lot of support in the classroom through their instructors, in the classroom with their instructors. The instructors also offer office hours and things of that nature. But in addition to that, we have a Learning Commons that helps you with tutoring. They offer skill shops, and skill shops on various things like note-taking. You get coaching with about time management, things of that nature. Also research. They're there to help you with research, to learn how to research properly. And there's a lot of tools that you can take advantage of in the Learning Commons. And like I said before, this is all at no additional cost. Everything that I just shared is free to you. So we're moving away the barriers. We're moving away the excuses. College is for everybody. Everybody can be successful here. 20 is the number of student support resources. So no matter who we are in this room, we at some point in time, we encounter challenges, we encounter barriers, correct? Right? So, that happens while you're in school too. Unexpected things happen. You had a job, you lost a job, all kind of things happen. So we have a lot of resources. Tri-County students get access to free counseling services as a student. We also have an emergency assistance fund. So if there's something in your class that you can't afford, our wellness office can help you through our emergency assistance funds. If you need a laptop or your laptop cord broke and you really can't afford it, because those laptop cords are pretty expensive, right? And you can't afford it, our emergency assistance fund can support you with that. We also have assistance for food and emergency housing situations. We have assistance we partner with SC Thrive. So not only do we have internal resources, but we partner with our external partners to get access to external resources that we can bring in through Tri-County and offer to you as a student. We also help you with academic challenges and things that you might be struggling with. We help you get through that. And we have a lot of prevention programs on substance abuse, things of that nature. So we have a lot of educational prevention programs available as well. The other day we did a texting while driving prevention program, where we had students kind of driving around in the golf cart and experience that activity. So a lot of things like that students can take advantage of. So I want to close by saying there's an infinite, and I think that's the message that you've heard, there's an infinite number of ways that you belong at Tri-County. So regardless of your race, regardless of your ethnicity, regardless of your disability, or whatever it is, whatever the thing is that makes you feel different from your peers, we want you to know that you belong at Tri-County and you can be successful. Thank you.
Thank you, Travis. Thank you, Travis. At this time, I would like to recognize our Men of Color Student Advisory Board members and recent recipients of the Men of Color Student Scholarship. The Men of Color Student Advisory Board aims to empower men of color at Tri-County through education, mentoring, and peer collaboration. If any of our Men of Color Student Advisory Board members are with us today, please stand when I call your name. Andreas Martinez, Brian Oliveira, Edward Roseman, Israel Williams, James Wilson, Trey Simpson Walker, Nicholas Grant, Quentin Black, Ramon Macias, William Cantrell, and Zadarius Wilburn Zellers. Thank you all for being here with us today. I would also like to recognize our Men of Color Student Scholarship recipients. Each of these students were awarded a $1,000 scholarship to be used toward their college tuition and fees. If any of our scholarship recipients are in the audience, please stand when I call your name. Ethan Arce, Mikhail Clark, Luis Hernandez, and Jonathan Lopez. Congratulations to our student scholarship recipients. It is now time for our main event. First, I would like to introduce Jamarcus Gaston, who will be leading the conversation with our guest speaker today. You may recognize Jamarcus as the co-host of Your Carolina TV show, which airs weekdays at 9 a.m. on WSBA Channel 7. Jamarcus grew up in the small town of Great Falls, South Carolina in Chester County. After graduation, he attended Furman University on an academic and music scholarship and later graduated with a bachelor's degree in music and communication studies. Jamarcus has been at WSBA since 2007 and has held roles ranging from marketing producer, photographer, reporter to on-camera commercial talent. Jamarcus was promoted to his own lifestyle show, Studio 62, where he served as the daily host and producer of the show, which featured local musicians, makers, and foodies. In 2018, Jamarcus was promoted and added as a co-host with the Your Carolina team. He has also been featured in United Airlines Hemisphere's travel show on how to spend 3 perfect days in South Carolina and as the host of Condé Nast Day in Greenville. Jamarcus has received numerous awards for his work, including a Gold Mark-On for excellence in marketing and communications in partnership with Infinity Marketing and GSP Airport for the GSP to NYC social media campaign. He was also named top social media influencer by the Greenville News, a Best TV Personality finalist by the Spartanburg Herald Journal, a Young Professional Award finalist by the Urban League of the Upstate, a top 10 Most Stylish finalist by the Talk magazine, and a Paul Harris Fellow by the Rotary Club of Greenville, the highest award given by Rotary International. Please join me in welcoming Jamarcus Gaston to the stage. Now I'd like to introduce our guest speaker, Bakari Sellers. Bakari is a two-time New York Times best-selling author, civil rights activist, attorney, entrepreneur, legislator, and overall prolific voice of the culture. Bakari continues to build upon the strong legacy he inherited as the son of Gwendolyn Sellers and civil rights leader Cleveland Sellers. While his dad helped shape movements working alongside Stokely Carmichael, Bayard Rustin, and Malcolm X, Bakari has come into his own, helping to write the blueprint for today's movements with the likes of Representatives James Clyburn, Attorney Benjamin Crump, and President Barack Obama. Bakari forged his own path from a very early on. He entered Morehouse College at the age of 16. He went on to become a graduate of the University of South Carolina Law School, and he became one of the youngest legislators in the South Carolina State Legislature at age 22. He carries the mantle of success with the right balance of gravitas, style, generosity, and humility, a nod to his humble beginnings in Denmark, South Carolina, where please and thank you are the chief currency in the town. In penning both his memoir, My Vanishing Country, and a children's book entitled Who Are Your People, Bakari pays homage to the working class values and encouraged him to dream with his eyes wide open. And that are the predicate for his persistent fight for diversity, equity, and inclusion in the United States and abroad. A CNN analyst, Bakari also brings the ability to elevate discourse such that people always feel one step closer to a solution or resolution after he speaks. He combines these and many other talents in his new podcast, the Bakari Sellers Podcast, which airs 2 times a week on the Ringer Podcast Network. Bakari has also been an attorney with the Strong Law Firm in Columbia, South Carolina since 2007, where he heads up the firm's strategic communication and public affairs team and the DEI consulting practice. Please join me in welcoming Bakari Sellers to the stage. Jamarcus and Bakari are going to have a dialogue, and then we'll open it up to the audience for questions. Gentlemen, please begin.
I can see why you're the fashion icon, man.
You know, I got to do something when I'm standing next to Bakari Sellers. Everyone give it up for Bakari Sellers, by the way. Throwing my pen at you.
This is the toughest time to speak. The 2 toughest times to speak are before people eat because they're hungry, and after people eat because they're kind of ready to go on about their business.
And we can relate. The food was really good, but we're not going to make it a napping attire, right? We're going to go ahead and
let's hope we can keep them awake.
We're going to keep you awake for this. Bakari, this is an honor to be able to speak with you. I was just talking to one of the photographers out there, and they were saying, you know, what do you want young men and women to take away from this? I was like, you can't be something you have never seen before. True. And you're a big part of that. So thank you so much for all that you do, being an example for so many people, how to be a gentleman of all types. So thank you so much for being here, for talking with me today. I was listening to your podcast because I wanted to get a little basis of what you talked about.
The one I just did with Jada Pinkett?
It was one from, that one. I was like, he could have. Is she doing podcasts with everybody?
No, I just did one with Jada like last week. You gotta listen. It was good.
I'm gonna listen to it on the way home. I was gonna do that. But no, I was listening to your podcast. You like to start with the arc of career and experience, and so I think that's a good point of departure for us. Obviously, we've heard a lot of things about you being one of the youngest legislators. Of course, the youngest in South Carolina at 22. When you were still in law school.
Yes.
So to give us an arc of your career and some things that you may find pertinent for these young folks to take in.
Well, sure. First, I'm from the big city of Denmark, South Carolina, where we have 3 stoplights and a blinking light. So shout out to Denmark, South Carolina.
Great Falls has 1, so you're a metropolis.
We are a little bit bigger than that. I got to say a special thank you to a few friends that I have in the audience. I am a product of the proverb, it takes a village to raise a child. My parents always taught me that. And growing up in Denmark, there were a lot of people who were a part of my village. And going throughout my life, I've recognized that. And I know that 2 people are in this room. The first person is the mayor of the great city of Anderson, South Carolina, Terrence Roberts. I want him to stand up just so you can give him another round of applause and just say thank you. His job is, first of all, I would never want to be mayor of nothing. But his job is extremely difficult, but he does it with grace, he does it with a little bit of style. And you've represented yourself very, very well. So thank you so much. Shout out to the mayor of Clemson. I don't know you that well, but if I ride through, please make sure that I get a speeding ticket. I'm coming to talk to you. But the other person I wanted to recognize is Dan Cooper. I'm not sure that Anderson County or the city of Anderson truly understand how blessed they were. They might recognize it now, but how blessed they were to have Dan Cooper down in Columbia advocating on their behalf. Dan was one of the 2 or 3 most powerful people in the state of South Carolina, and when you talk to him, you would never know it because he was so humble, and he did it with this country twang. And whenever we greet each other, we just say, I love you, brother. Good to see you, brother. And he's the reason I'm here today. Dan, stand up and let them, I don't know what he's doing with that Hulk Hogan mustache and stuff, but. So the arc of my career is pretty simple. And for the young people in the back, I started out pretty young. I went to kindergarten for a semester. After Christmas, they put me in first grade. Then the next year, I went to third grade. So I skipped 2 halves and a whole. I walked into third grade really young, got picked on a whole lot, and then I ended up growing up to be about 6'5" by the time I went to be a freshman in high school. I was 12 when I was a freshman in high school. I graduated when I was 16. I went to Morehouse at the age of 16 and lost my mind because at 16 years old in Atlanta, Georgia, with a college ID, you could get into any club you wanted to get in the entire country. And so I lost my academic scholarship not once, but twice. That is talent, I will tell you that. My parents kind of figured that I was going to find my niche and meander on through college. I ended up becoming SGA president at Morehouse. Graduated when I was 20, went to law school. Had this crazy dream that I was going to run for the South Carolina State House of Representatives in 2006. I graduated college in 2005. September of 2005, I turned 21 years old. And I had to wait until my 21st birthday, and I announced September 18th of 2005 that I was going to run for President of the United States.
Y'all heard it here first.
South Carolina. I was thinking about Barack Obama in my head, but South Carolina State House of Representatives. And I ran against Representative Thomas Rhode, who was 82 years old, had been in the State House for 26 years, which was longer than I had been born. And before he was in the State House, he was on county council. Before he was on county council, he delivered the mail. And before he delivered the mail, he delivered the milk. And so he literally knew everybody. June 13, 2006, I became the youngest black elected official in the country and the youngest state legislator in the country from the big city of Denmark, which was pretty cool. And the reason I always acknowledge Denmark is because I don't know how many of you all have been to God's country, which is Denmark, South Carolina. It's 9 miles away from Norway, and in between Norway and Denmark are 2 small unincorporated towns called Finland and Sweden. But we used to like jump ditches for fun. I used to break into Denmark Tech and play basketball during the summers. We played basketball on wooden backboards. It just wasn't a whole lot there, but we had really good people. Does that remind you of anything? We didn't know what we did not have. But that's where I'm from, and I was able to have some semblance of success. And I'll share with you some stories as we go. I ran for lieutenant governor in 2014 against Henry McMaster. That's the reason I'm here with you all today. Henry beat me pretty good. And then in 2015, June of 2015, Dan and I lost one of our really good friends, Clemente Pinckney, along with 8 others in a shooting in Mother Emanuel AME Church in Charleston. I was doing a lot of interviews. And one time my phone rang and it was a private number. And the young people in the room, let me just tell you this. If your phone rings and it's a private number, it's one of 2 people. It's either somebody very important or it's a student loan company calling you to get their money back. But in this case, it was CNN calling. And they called me off the street and asked me, did I want to come and work for them? MSNBC called a little bit later. Fox still ain't called, but I ain't figured that one out yet. And I took the offer from CNN, and I've been with them for the past 7 years.
And what a job you've done. You've been a voice for a lot of people. You said that President of the United States thing now. CNN, do we need to call CNN today?
No, please, no. We need some good people running, but that's neither here nor there. I was going to tell you guys this story. So, give me a little point of personal.
It's your show.
So, when I was in the State House, I was the only legislator with a book bag. And so, I would walk back and forth from the State House to the law school. And so one day I'm going and my phone rings and I pick it up and they say, do you have time to speak to Barack Obama? And you gotta remember, South Carolina is the first primary in the South. I'm the youngest black elected official, youngest state legislator, so I say, of course I do. So I pick up the phone and I'm talking to 44 to Barack Obama, and we're just talking and he says, well, now is the time I want you to endorse me to be president of the United States. And I say, Senator, I'll do so under 2 conditions. 1, you come to my district, and 2, my dad wants my mama to get out of the house more, so can she work on the campaign? And he said, done and done. And so he wins Iowa, loses New Hampshire, and South Carolina's next. And I get a phone call that says Barack Obama wants to come to your district. And I ran into a small problem because, again, I'm from Denmark, South Carolina, and we ain't really had no place to put Barack Obama. And so we decided we were going to put him in South Carolina State in the gymnasium named after the 3 young men killed in the Orangewood Massacre, Smith, Hammond, and Middleton Auditorium. And State House security took me down that day, and I'll never forget, it's a gymnasium auditorium, so it's 360, and there's a little small stage center, and there's like a narrow walkway that leads from the green room. And I walk into the green room, and it's thousands of, this is at the height of Obama mania, this is January of 08, people are coming from Virginia, Maryland, Tennessee, everywhere. And I walk into the green room, and sitting down is Chris Tucker and Kerry Washington. And so I'm just chilling and I'm talking, and we're waiting on Barack Obama to get there. My friend Rick Wade, who some of you all may know, and he peeks in and he says, I'm gonna go to the airport, I'll be right back. I'd never seen anybody fly into the Orangeburg County Airport, but he goes and he comes back with Usher. So it's me, Usher, Chris Tucker, and Kerry Washington waiting on, this is a true story, I got pictures, waiting on Barack Obama. And finally the senator gets there and they say it's go time. And they're playing like Ain't No Mountain High Enough, and we go out on stage and we're supposed to get in a couple minutes to speak, and I go out and I speak, and then I turn around and I introduce Chris Tucker, and the decibel level goes up a little bit louder, and then Chris comes out and he introduces Kerry Washington, and the decibel level goes up a little bit louder, and then Kerry comes out and she introduces Usher, and like all the women start passing out. And then Usher comes out and he introduces Barack Obama, and I don't know if you've been to a concert recently, but it was so loud that it was like buzzing in your ear. And the senator looked at us and told us we had to get off the stage, but we took this picture, and to my left is Chris Tucker, and to my right is the 44th President of the United States, and to his right is Kerry Washington, and to her right is Usher Raymond IV. And when people ask me about that picture, I remind them, again, that I come from a really small town, and although I was only 18 miles away from from Denmark, where I told my parents I was going to run for office, I had gone so far. And I think that picture, that moment, it helps encapsulate that although I did not have to go far to realize my dreams, that here I was able to stand on the stage, and the story was already written. Barack Obama went ahead to win South Carolina, became president of the United States. I played a little role in it, call him a friend now. But nobody would have expected that from a kid who graduated from South Carolina public schools, who went to an HBCU. And so I think that's an important image for individuals in this room to know that you can really achieve anything.
What a moment. And it took a lot, yeah, that deserves a round of applause. What a moment, and a lot of work that went into that.
For sure.
That is for sure. It took a lot of work to do that. A lot of people are going to be Googling that photo later.
Oh, it exists, it pops up. It's a good picture.
Okay, they're going to go be looking it up. They trust you. This is the stuff we want to hear on the podcast. To talk about your upbringing, obviously you had a family that was pivotal in the civil rights movement, and you had great role models in that. Talk a little bit about your experience with your parents growing up and how they may have urged you to use your voice,
sure,
civic duty, and also what could you say as a person that grew up that didn't have those people necessarily in the household, how important, and you've already kind of touched on this by pointing out role models that have been critical in your success.
So I have I'm always very open and honest, almost to a fault, but I have 22 tattoos. So some of y'all are gonna find that to be amazing, and some of y'all are gonna immediately pray for me, and I'll just take both. One of the tattoos across my back says blessed, because I truly am. My mom, many people know the story about my dad, but my mom was a part of the desegregating class of Hamilton High School in Memphis, Tennessee, which means that she was a part of the first group of black students to graduate from that high school. My dad actually went to prison not once, but twice. My dad was shot February 8th, 1968. He was shot in the shoulder. He still has shoulder trouble to this day. They put my dad after they arrested him. They actually blocked off 26 between Columbia and Orangeburg for the first and only time in this state's history. When they arrested my dad, they made everybody who was on get off, and they blocked off the highway and wouldn't let anybody else on as they transported him up 26 and took him. And they housed my dad after they arrested him. They housed him on death row, just to add a little insult to the wound. His bond was extremely high, and they didn't want him in contact with other inmates because they deemed my dad to be an outside agitator. Ironically enough, he went to trial. He was charged and convicted of rioting. And I'm a lawyer. I don't know if we have any other lawyers in the room, but I can tell you through the history of law, he's the first and only one-man riot in the history of this country. He ended up serving a year of hard labor. My sister, we all have Swahili names. My name is Bakari. My sister's name is Nosizwe. My brother's middle name is Lumumba. But my sister's middle name is Abadame. She's the oldest, and that means born while your father is away. We have this amazing picture of my sister because my sister was actually born while my father was incarcerated at CCI. Have any of y'all ever been to CCI? I said been to, not been in, but okay. Been to CCI. It was a legendary prison on the water down in Columbia, and they had a yard in the middle, and my dad had on his blues with the number on his shirt right here, and he had his big afro. And my mom was sitting beside him, and my dad was holding my sister. It was the first time that he was able to see his daughter. And some of the young folk in here, I can't say that I know it either, but they used to have these cameras that they would take the picture, and then you had to do this to the little picture so it would come up or whatever. You can work your wrist out. I don't know, what are those Polaroid? I don't know what they call it. But that was the first picture that my dad was able to see of his daughter. Because my dad ended up with this unjust felony on his record, you can imagine being a black man in the South with a felony on his record. He immediately left South Carolina. My family had to grow up, not me. I don't want anybody to sit here and claim that I did. Like I said, I'm blessed, but my older brother and sister had it a little bit more difficult because we had a period of government assistance and those type things as my family was trying to make it through. Ironically enough, Governor McNair was a large part of the reason my dad went to jail, but Governor Campbell pardoned my dad. And for those of you all who understand partisan politics, which is why I don't necessarily ascribe to those notions, that's a large reason why Governor Campbell actually pardoned my dad. But he did not get his record expunged. He refused to expunge his record because he wanted that injustice and people to always be able to see that injustice. So when you look at my dad's record, you still see February 8th, 1968 in rioting. I grew up with some cool people, Julian Bond. Funny story, short story, but funny. I joked that Dr. King didn't get everything right. My dad does not find this joke funny, but I do, because Dr. King performed my dad's first marriage. It lasted all of about 6 months at Ebenezer Baptist Church, and my dad and Dr. King were really close. So the King kids are really close to me. Stokely, of course, was extremely close. He was my sister's godfather. My son is named Stokely after Stokely Carmichael. I call Jesse Jackson is extremely close. Jesse from this region of the state. I was the campaign baby. So in the '88, every image you see of Jesse Jackson with the child was me. They just passed me around. They were just like, here, take a picture. And so that was my village. And people would call the house and it would just be like Aunt Kathleen or Kathleen Cleaver or Uncle Julian. And they were individuals who I never wanted to disappoint, but who always imparted in me certain levels of wisdom and just go be yourself.
What a remarkable look at history of people that we know, most of us only from books and their work that they've done.
You don't
And
know from books no more. They don't let you read
well,
them.
yeah, then there's that. But yeah, the people that only know from the work that they've done. And so it's kind of cool to have that experience. Bakari was the campaign baby. Everybody's just passing Bakari around.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about the books that you've written. Speaking of those, because New York Times bestseller that we have here. That would
Two times.
2 times, okay. The children's book is on the list too. Congratulations on that. Tell us what you were thinking about. Obviously, the books are different, but there's some takeaways from each that can be tied together and things you can take away. I read that you wanted to, teach people of color the way that they can thrive, ways that they can thrive. So, introduce us to those books and what your mindset.
It was both processes were extremely difficult. I wrote my first book in 4 months, and the reason I had to write it so fast and get it out, it came out in May of 2020, is because another young man named Barack Obama's book was released in that fall, and my editor said, if somebody has $30, they gonna buy his book and not yours, so you need to get it out. I sat down every day for 15 minutes, at least, and sometimes in those 15 minutes, I wrote absolutely nothing, and sometimes I stayed there for an hour, but every single day, I stayed in that space for 15 minutes and just put my thoughts down on paper. I walk around with voice record, which is on my phone. It's an iPhone app, and talk into it and my thoughts just to kind of get the book to where I wanted it to be. I just finished my second book, which is entitled The Moment. We're copy editing now and going through the legal process, and it comes out next May as well. And it's just an amazing process to be able to put all your thoughts and be able to tell your truth. When you read it, you find out where I'm from and the things that I did growing up. You see some of my darkest moments and some of my failures. You see my wife almost dying in childbirth when she gave birth to our twins and spending their first 36 hours in the ICU. You see the struggle of my daughter Sadie having a liver transplant at 10 months old and how we were on the transplant waiting list for 93 days. You see me winning elections. You see me losing elections. You see all of those things, but one of the things that Donald Trump taught us, uniquely enough, is that people want some level of being authentic. And whether or not you appreciate the words that come out of his mouth or you don't appreciate the words that come out of his mouth, they are true to him and how he really feels. And that truth, that unabashed truth, is what people really want to see. And so when I wrote this book, I became extremely naked. And it became cathartic or therapeutic. And somebody smarter than me, please tell me which one of those words it was. It may be both. But to just be able to tell everybody, like, look, I messed up. I was about to say something I shouldn't. I messed up. And, everybody messes up. But it's not about how you mess up. It's about how you get up. I've succeeded. But one of the things I don't like to do is people are like, tell me about your accomplishments. And I'm like, I don't write my own obituary. That's for other folk to do. I'll let somebody else do that when that time is there. And so it was really timely. It was successful. We've sold 100,000 copies. It's been translated into German and French and Spanish, 3 languages I do not speak, so I hope it translated appropriately. And it's just been doing really well. Who Are Your People is a children's book. It's very hard to be able to write children's books, but I was able to do that, and it was also a New York Times bestseller. I wanted my kids to be able to see themselves. It's funny because kids are humbling because my kids are literally the images in the book, and it's not their favorite book. It ain't even close to being their favorite book. Like, they have so many other books they rather read than the book that has them walking through the pages of history. And so we're writing another children's book as well, which should come out, they're very difficult. And we're working on an animated series about the book, and we're working on a motion picture about my dad and my book as well. So just doing some pretty cool things.
And you mentioned authenticity and kind of feeling naked and bare and kind of putting all your things out there. That was one of the things, like growing up, all the things going on with your family, whether you have money for scholarships and things like that. It's kind of hard to live in that truth when everybody wants to celebrate the outcome of hard work, but no one wants to.
Well, I mean, so like, how many of y'all have Instagram in this room? Raise your hand. Okay. Instagram is like SportsCenter. It's only people's highlights. Like, people don't show you when they are like suffering from anxiety or when they're depressed or when they're going through despair. They only show you when they're doing good. So it gives you a really false sense of yourself, a false sense of their reality. And we try to keep up with something that's really unrealistic. Where was I? DEI conference. Yeah, the Greenville Chamber of Commerce. And one of the things that I mentioned is that these young people in this room are so dope because they are surviving through generations of trauma in a very short period of time. And they're doing it all while under the auspices of Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat. Respectfully, if we would have had Instagram and Twitter back in the day, Dan and these two mayors would not be elected. Now, I'm just going to tell you, they just would not be here. And there are a lot of your teachers, your parents, the people who are in your village who do not have the same strength that you have in being able to survive. And that's why I always say that you all deserve some grace. All the young people in this room deserve more grace than we give them. And so, yeah, I think that there are a lot of people who look out in the audience and see all these young men of color, and they like to say something that is just wild to me. They like to say, oh my God, that's the leaders of tomorrow. And I'm like, the only reason you say that is because you don't want to let go. They're really the leaders of right now. Like, these young people right now, they can go out and literally change the world at their fingertips. They have the entire encyclopedia of the world just right there in their phones. They can create a TikTok. First of all, they got to teach you about TikTok. But they can create a TikTok and get 1,000 impressions, and if they don't, they can get 1 million impressions. They can monetize that, and they can change the world just with a 30-second video, whereas that's something that you literally cannot do. They can go out on Instagram and create images that transform movements. They can do tweets that go viral. I mean, I've been on Twitter since 2010. I've had some good moments. I got sued because of 2 tweets. The whole nother story. I got blocked by Donald Trump because of 1 tweet. That's a whole nother story. And then I've had a tweet that has had literally 100 million impressions. 100 million. And so these young people right now, the things they can do, all they need you to do is like, you bowl, some of y'all are probably pretty bad, the bumper rails? That's all they need you to do. They don't need you to help them guide the ball down. They don't need you to shuffle over them and help them roll it. They just need you to be bumper rails for them and get out the way. They're going to make some mistakes. So did you all. It's funny, my dad's kind of the coolest guy. My dad used to teach us a certain portion of his African-American studies class about Tupac. And we get in these like little back and forth arguments, and he'll talk about the music our generation listens to and how it sounds and the words that are used. And then I'm like, but y'all shot the sheriff? I mean, y'all stood up in it sideways and all this other stuff. I mean, like, y'all wore bell bottoms and had afros. Y'all had the shoes with the goldfish in the bottom. Everybody was a pimp. I mean, like, what are you talking about, Dad? So, like, if you think about it, it's just, we're doing the same thing that you all did. They're doing the same thing that I did, just in a different way, with a different swag, with a different style. It's not to be condemned. It's to be uplifted and be able to find that nuance of creativity and help them flourish. That's what I try to do.
Some good advice, some good content for the podcast, Bakari. I'm tuning in now after the Jada episode. Okay. I think we're going to open it up now for some questions from the audience. So anyone that has a question for Bakari,
but questions. So like, there are 2 things I say about questions. The first is that questions have question marks on the end of it. Some people try to come up here and give their own speech and life story, and we say that for later. And number two is, there literally are things as dumb questions.
Bakari will always tell it like it is. There are certain things as dumb questions. Don't use that.
I don't know where that came from, where people teach people there's no such thing as a dumb question. Yes, there is.
Under those new guidelines provided to us by Mr. Sellers, does anyone have a question? Please come to one of these two microphones at the edge of the stage. It can be a student, it could be a teacher, anybody.
And I tell people when they ask questions that you can ask me about absolutely anything. I'm only 39 and I haven't been in politics yet long enough to lie to you, so I'll answer any question you got.
Don't be shy. Anyone? I saw a hand over there. Don't be shy. You're trying to get someone to come up. Okay. Well, do we have one over here? Hey, come on up.
What grade are you in?
I'm fresh out of college. Can you believe that?
If you're Bakari, you'd be in kindergarten because that's what the age he graduated.
Yeah, I was not on your track. It took me a little bit longer to get out of college, but I think for maybe a lot of people here in this room or for the students,
Yes, sir.
maybe some people here are standing on the shoulders of maybe some ancestors or some good family members, but there may be some that are kind of blazing their own path and doing things for the first time. What encouragement would you give to those that maybe don't have a mentor or doing things that, you know, it feels right, but nobody else has done it before?
Yeah, that's a really good question. What's your name? Lewis, that's a really good question. Thank you for that. I'll tell you this, I mean, for a lot of you all, leadership is lonely. And a lot of times when you go down the path of leadership, when you're embarking on new trails and you're doing something that feels really good, you know how you do those things that sometimes in your chest, it just makes you feel a certain type of way. It makes your heart beat fast. It's kind of like when you first see that fine girl, your heart beat a little bit faster. When you're doing something good, you feel really good in your stomach, and then you look around and you want other people to have that feeling, or you expect everybody else to be doing that, and you realize you're the only one in there doing it. One of the things young people always say is like they want to play basketball or football. And I never disabuse young people of that notion. Some of y'all will be like, no, you can't do that. Nobody, and I hate that. That's silly. Like, if you want to be a basketball player, the first thing I tell them is like, all right, that means you need to be in the gym before school starts. It's 6 a.m. That means you need to be getting up 1,000 jump shots at the end. You need to be in the weight room after. You need to watch what you eat, and you got to get good grades so no college is going to recruit you. You know, it's just kind of helping them along the way. But then when you realize you're in the gym shooting them jump shots, you got to rebound your own misses because ain't nobody in there with you. Everybody talking about how they can hoop or how fast they are or how good you are, but you're the only one in there making yourself better. And so sometimes when you're charting your own course, you got to realize that it's lonely. The other thing is, and I did this before, and I'm going to challenge you and some of the other men in here, and particularly men of color, Lewis and some others. I did this in Detroit, and I'll never do this again. But I stood up in a room at a Men of Color summit, and I had everybody close their eyes in the entire room. Everybody. Except the mentors. It was like 18 grown men in the room. And I said, if you've ever been depressed or thought about killing yourself or committing suicide, raise your hand. The reason I never do it again is because sometimes you're not prepared for the answer. And about 18 young men raised their hand. And so we took those young men upstairs to the suite. We became mentors to them. I realized I wasn't suited for that. That's not my ministry. I won't do it again. I was trying to prove a point. Point was made. But when you're in rooms like this, what you realize is that particularly black men have a lot of stresses that come along with being black men in today's America. And so not only is leadership lonely, but I encourage you fellas to take care of your mental, as Marshawn Lynch would always say. Take care of your well-being. If you're feeling some type of way, talk to somebody about it and learn how to love yourself. And people are like, so this is a little bit of a tangent. People are like, you know, why are people out there joining gangs, etc.? Because they want to be loved. This ain't rocket science. They need a family. And those are the only people that are loving them, that are providing that family. And so what we have to do in this room, those of us who are not the students, is be able to provide that for them. So that's a little bit of both, what we can do and what they can do.
Yeah, great question. Great question, by the way.
The air condition works in this building. It is. One of the things about coming to this college or university is you never have to be warm or hot.
Bakari was sipping coffee, teas, had a blanket, koozie, everything. He was cold. I think we have one more question. Anybody else have a question? Come on up, sir.
We got two. You can both come up.
Got a couple.
Sharp blazer, man. I appreciate that's a nice blazer.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. No doubt we have a lot of young men in here who probably have absolutely no clue what they want to do outside of high school once they graduate high school. What advice can you give these young men that have no clue on what they want to do or haven't even thought about what they want to do after they graduate high school?
I ain't really got no advice for them. They'll find it. That's the most amazing thing about these young people. Sometimes we find our niches late in life. Some of these people with like jobs still don't know what they want to be when they grow up. They just kind of going through the motions. You know, I want y'all, everybody like that's, in high school, middle school, man, just keep exploring. Just keep trying new things, trying new foods, trying new cultures, travel. I don't have regrets. I don't live with regrets. I think regrets are like for other people. Like, I wish I did go and do some traveling overseas when I was studying abroad when I was in college. But if there's ever an opportunity to travel and see the world, do it. I'm from Denmark, and my dad used to run the summer camp. And every summer, we take kids from Denmark to Carowinds. Every summer. And you know the number one attraction in Carowinds? Any guesses? No roller coaster. Nope. When you walk into Carowinds, it's the border. North Carolina, South Carolina. And all my friends would stand on the line because they ain't never been nowhere. They'd never been out of South Carolina. And so we had to take pictures of them in North Carolina so they could go back and show their friends and family that they had been somewhere. So for us who are of a certain age or have some means, show these young people the world. And for these young people, continue to push yourself and explore, and then you'll figure out what you want to be or how you want to change the world.
Great advice. Great advice. Young man, introduce yourself.
My name is Kentrell Hawkins.
And what's your question?
What's the name of your book?
Bakari.
But search Bakari. No, it's my Vanishing Country.
That was your question? That was it?
He wants to know what your book is. He wants you to promote. This is your
what's the name of my book? I thought he said, what's my name? Oh, the name of my book. My Vanishing Country and Who Are Your People? I'll get you a copy. Who you here with? Who's your you got a teacher or something here with you?
Yep.
All right, make sure they contact me. I'll get you a copy.
We'll hook it up. I was like, Bakari, is this your agent selling?
How many people in your class? You know? Who all with him? Raise your hand. All right, bet. I'll make sure. I don't know if that's a school or what, but I'll make sure that group over there was 20 books. I'll make sure they get books.
Thank you, sir.
Make sure I get them all some books. Thank you. All right.
Thank you so much. That book is now double platinum. New York Times bestseller times 2. Do we have time for a couple more? We have a couple more. So anybody else have any questions? Okay, we have
this young lady coming
up.
We have 2 young ladies coming.
All right. And be sure to introduce yourself so everyone knows who you are.
Okay, my name is Yamina, and that's actually a Swahili name too. So I have 2 questions for you.
Sure.
Are you Kenyan? Are you Luo, most importantly, because Obama's Luo?
Yeah.
And also, how did you overcome being your authentic self because when I tell people I'm Kenyan, they're like, oh, kunta kinte, all this weird stuff. No, but so how did you overcome being your authentic self, your roots?
So yeah, no, I'm not Kenyan. My family actually, when we've done the research and backtracked, we actually are from Sierra Leone. And most people think I'm Eritrean. because of my features and the way that I look. When I travel to New York or DC, most people that I come in contact with ask me, am I from Eritrea? And I'm like, no, I'm from Denmark, which gives them a good chuckle. And I'm like, Denmark, South Carolina. One of the things that I realized at a very young age is that my dream and goal was to be excellent. Now, I didn't know what I was going to do, and I didn't know how I was going to get there, but I did know I was going to be the very best at whatever I did. And so what I would challenge you to do is kind of tune out those haters, because if people are talking about you, that means you must be doing something right. And so I would challenge you to kind of reconfigure how you think, and not worry about how people look at you or how people judge you, but instead challenge yourself every day to be better than yesterday. It's a very small challenge. Excellence is defined like this. I know we have teachers in the room, and if you have a favorite teacher, she could be number 2 or whatever, but the greatest educator in the world of all time is from Greenwood, South Carolina. His name was Benjamin Elijah Mays. And he said, in all things that you do them so well that no man living, dead, or yet to be born can do them better. And so that's the definition of excellence. And I live my life in 24-hour increments because I have really bad anxiety. And what I try to do is win every single day. And so what I challenge you to do is today, all you have to do in order to have a successful life is literally be better than yesterday. And then tomorrow, focus on winning that day and make it better than today. And I think if you focus on those small things, if you kind of eat the elephant one bite at a time, when you look back at your life, you'll realize, damn, I did good work.
Thank you.
Hello, hi, I'm Penelope Berry, locally, Laws, and we live in Atlanta, so we really drove to come to see you. And the question I have for you, as well as all the great advice you're giving for the young people here, Julian Bond stands out so much. What did you gather from him and his legacy that you want to share with everybody that they may not know?
Uncle Julian was one of my favorite people on earth. Julian Bond got elected to the Georgia State Senate at a very young age. He was 26 years old. They did not want to seat Julian Bond because his stance on the Vietnam War. Julian Bond was one of the just amazing early members, founders of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. He was chairman of the NAACP, and he actually was chair of the African American Studies Department at the University of Virginia. I did his Explorations of Black Leadership, one of the last video collections he did before he passed away. He should have been a United States congressman, but for the campaign he ran against John Lewis, and that's another historical weird race. But Julian taught me something that I try to carry in my life every day, which is that you have to meet people where they are. I told people when I was at the DEI event about my relationship, kind of weird friendship from the outside with Glenn McConnell. And I think, I would say the same thing about Dan Cooper. When Dan calls me and he needs something, I'm gonna be there for Dan. But on the outside, I'm not sure that people would assume that a white guy from Anderson would be close with a black dude from Denmark who's the son of a civil rights activist. And what we've shown each other is kind of black, white, blue, purple, Democrat, Republican. If you begin to try to get to know people. Now Dan voted wrong 90% of the time. I would still believe I voted right. So we didn't vote together at all. But at the end of the day, when we walked away, we were able to have a drink with each other, care about each other, be there for one another. If I needed something for Denmark, he would put it in the budget for me. I mean, it was an amazing relationship, all because of the fact that we decided to meet people where they are. Right now, we try to have conversations where either we yell at people, we don't listen to people, we don't show them any grace, we want to cancel them for their ignorance or whatever they may say that doesn't meet our standards or goals. We walk up to people and say, before we get to know them, we ask questions like, so tell me what you think about abortion. That really ain't the way to start a healthy conversation with nobody. And so I think if we do a better job actually meeting people where they are and having conversations with people and getting to know people, which is something Julian taught me, we'd be much better off in our political dialogue and discourse. Everybody right now think they either work for Fox News or MSNBC, and they think they know everything. And they just want to come and tell you about their views and their opinions. And if you match with those, you're their friend. If you don't match, you're excommunicated. It's made for some really weird Thanksgivings. And so I think we just have to regroup and, again, dedicate ourselves to try to meet people where they are.
Thank you so much.
Well, Bakari, I think that's it for us. Thank you so much for
Give him a round of applause.
I love doing it because I told someone earlier, I said Bakari doesn't need a moderator, so I'm glad to be here moderating because he needs not one at all, but thank you so much. A round of applause for Bakari Sellers.
Let's give them each another round of applause. We have reached the end of our event. I want to thank Bakari and Jamarcus for being here with us today. On behalf of myself, Dr. Jackie Blakely, Dr. Beverly McAdams, August Johnson, Travis Durham, Rodney Estrada, and Talia Wheatley, we want to thank Dr. Galen DeHay, Dr. Mandy Elmore for their unwavering support of this initiative and this extremely important work. We want to thank our title sponsor, South State Bank. A special thanks to Karen Potter and Jenny Kramer for all the hard work that they did with us to put this event on. They have been amazing in helping us. We want to thank our volunteers for their help and support. We want to thank each of you for your support of this initiative, and to the students. Bakari talked about being your authentic self. Anybody who knows me knows that I don't code switch well. I am who I am regardless of the letters or names before or after my name. But make every opportunity count. Live your life to the fullest. Treat your challenges as speed bumps, which are meant to slow you down, not to stop you. Eat every day from a buffet of positive energy. And when folk come to feed you the endless buffet of what you can't do, who you can't be, what you can't accomplish, tell them that you're not hungry because you've already ate. Thank you to each of you, and have an amazing rest of your week.